Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and I went on a bit of a shopping spree with some other lovely booktubers. Recently, a lot of us in the UK met up at the booktuber meetup in London. We organise it maybe once or twice a year, and we all met up and went for a stroll around some of the bookshops in London and gossiped and chatted and had lunch, and it was lovely. And as always on these things, I always end up buying loads of books. However, this time I feel like I picked up books that I really was interested in, and quite a few books I picked up I hadn't heard of before and just hadn't been on my radar. So I'm really pleased with the selection I've got here. I'm going to talk to you first about the books that I picked up in Gay is the Word, and that's a really good LGBTQIA+ bookshop in London, and I've never been there before, and this was my first trip and it was brilliant. There was all sorts of different sections, and there was a great graphic novel selection and some really good YA books, and so I picked up 3 books in here. The Trauma Cleaner by Sarah Krasnostein. When I first heard about this book a while back, I was hearing that it was someone who cleans up sort of crime scene and trauma, and I just thought, oh, that sounds really interesting. And then as I was hearing reviews, I was just hearing more and more interesting things about this, and it does involve a lot of different aspects. Not only does it look into this person who, or this woman who cleans up after various things. So it says here a man who bled quietly to death in his lounge room, a woman who lived with rats, a home vacated by accidental overdose, but also it talks about Sandra Pankhurst and her life before becoming a trauma cleaner. It says where she was a husband, a father, drag queen, sex reassignment patient, sex worker, businesswoman and trophy wife. I just think this sounds phenomenal, and I really need to hop on board this hype train and read this one soon. Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring-Blake. I've really been enjoying reading Ashley Herring-Blake's books. I read Girl Made of Stars and really enjoyed it, and this one just sounds like a really good contemporary story. It's about a young girl. She is someone that enjoys drawing. She is also living in a town when a tornado hits and tears all her drawings and her notebook away, and she feels like she has lost this notebook forever. She's worried where it may have landed up because it has pictures of girls holding hands in, and she's nervous about what people will think and what that might mean. And then suddenly these pictures start reappearing in her locker, and I think we're obviously going to be following her, maybe facing up to her sexuality, or yeah, I don't know. It says, will Ivy find the strength and courage to follow her true feelings? So we will find out. Once and Future by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. This one sounds brilliant. It's about the reincarnation of King Arthur, who is a she, and it says, coming to terms with your identity is always difficult, but for Ari as the reincarnation of King Arthur, it's just got a lot more complicated. What on earth, or anywhere in space, can she hope to achieve with a rusty spaceship and an adolescent wizard called Merlin? Gender-bending royalty, caustic wit, and a galaxy-wide fight for peace and equality all collide in this brilliant reinvention of the Arthurian legend. I just think it's about time. I'm looking forward to this one. On the next stop, we went to London Review Books, and I didn't pick up anything there, and I was feeling quite pleased. I had only picked up 3, thought I was doing well, and then we went to Forbidden Planet. In Forbidden Planet, I picked up 2 books, and the first one is called Beauty Sleep by Catherine Evans. This is about a girl. She's famous, and she is famous for dying, and she is put into a sort of frozen sleep until she can be cured. So she's sort of a real life Sleeping Beauty. She's then awakened 40 years later, where everything has changed. Technology is massively different, and this is looking at her and how she can assimilate back into a world that she doesn't recognise. I was really excited when I saw this on the shelf because I didn't know it was out yet, and this is the next graphic novel by Lucy Knisley, and it is Kid Gloves, 9 Months of Careful Chaos. So this is looking into the time where she was pregnant and planning for her new arrival, her baby, and I just love all of her books. I've read Relish, I've read all of her books. Relish and Something New were her sort of more recent ones, but there was Milk and a couple of others. They're all on my shelves, and I just adore her art style and the way that she tells her personal stories. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and I should think this is a great one if you know anyone in your life who is currently pregnant. And then finally we went to Any Amount Books, which is my favourite secondhand bookshop in London. There's always books in there that are either ARCs or books that I've been looking for that are at such cheap prices, and I'm really excited that I managed to pick up so many. The first one I picked up is called We Are Not Okay by Natalia Gomez. I think it's Gomez or Gomes. And this is coming out? It's coming out in May. It says, Lucy loves to gossip. If she's pointing fingers at everyone, no one will see the secret she's hiding. Ulana comes from a conservative Muslim family where reputation is everything, so her parents can never find out about the boy she's seeing. Trina likes the party and she's kissed a lot of boys at school, but she didn't say yes that night and now no one believes her. Sophia loved her boyfriend. She did everything for him. When he asked her to pose for photos, she didn't hesitate, but then he betrayed her trust. So why is she the one being shamed? 4 girls, 4 voices, all unheard until now. And I just think this sounds like it's right on trend, really. I mean, I know that sounds terrible, but there is a lot of books that are looking into this sort of thing at the moment. We've got The Burning by Laura Bates, which is just coming out. This one, and I think it's quite a hot topic, this idea of sexual exploitation and sexting in schools, and I think yeah, this is going to be an interesting read. This one I hadn't heard of, but the blurb really caught me, and it is called The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. I think the thing that initially drew me into this was it said it's for fans of Riverdale and Stranger Things and The Raven Cycle, and 2 of those things I absolutely love. And so I thought, that sounds a bit interesting. And then when I discovered it was set in rural New York in a small town where a girl has just moved to and started a new school, I thought, this sounds like it might be quite creepy and interesting. And she is descended from one of the founders of the town, and she meets the other children who are also descendants of the founders of the town. I think there's some sort of destructive path that these other founders are on. Then bodies start turning up, and these teenagers have to try and uncover what is exactly going on, and what is their part that's in this, and you know, why are the townspeople so afraid. I bought those books, and then I was on my way out, and there was a word that I saw in a book, and I was like, I need to have this in my life. And it is The Honey Bus, a memoir of lost courage and a girl saved by bees by Meredith May. If you didn't know, I have a bit of an obsession with books written about bees and with bees in them, and this sounded really interesting. It's got end papers that have pictures on, which I just think is a really nice touch. It says, when she was 5 years old, Meredith May was abandoned by both parents. Her father left for the other side of the country. Her mother disappeared into herself. But when Meredith discovered the rusted old bus where her grandpa kept bees, her world changed forever. Family, duty, compassion and sacrifice, unconditional love. The life of a honeybee displays it all. As her grandpa showed her the sacrifices bees made for their colony and the bonds they form with their keeper, Meredith discovered what family really means. A rich and lyrical coming-of-age story combined with spellbinding nature writing, The Honey Bus is the extraordinary story of a girl who journeyed into the hive and found herself. And yeah, I truly am just... It must have been fate. It's also been blurbed by Laline Paul, who's the author of The Bees, which is a book I very much enjoyed, which says, if you want the world to become a kinder place, here is your book. So yes, please. And then tell a lie, I picked up one book in another bookshop we went to, which was foils. I wasn't going to buy anything in foils, but then there was a book that sort of stood out to me. I actually got it a bit earlier than it should be released. I think it's not being released until later this week, so I'm really pleased that I picked it up, and it is Summerbird Blue by Akemi Dawn Bowman, who is the author of Starfish, which is a book that I really read and enjoyed. This book is about our young protagonist. Her and her younger sister create music and write music together, and when tragically her younger sister is killed in a car crash, she feels like she can't make music anymore and is just overtaken by grief. She moves to Hawaii, I think to be with her grandmother and to try and heal, and there is a surfer boy she meets, and it's just looking at her discovery of, you know, working her way through grief and who she is now without her sister there, and is it possible for her to continue making music without her sister, and how that would work for her. So I think this is going to be, again, another emotional read. Starfish was full of really heavy topics, but written in such a readable and amazing way, so I'm really looking forward to this one. So I'm really pleased. I didn't come home with any, I was like, oh, I did that on a bit of an excitement whim. I just came home with books I was really looking forward to and excited to read, and felt pleased that I'd picked up. I didn't feel any guilt, which is a wonderful thing. Anyway, I'm going to go before I start hacking up a lung here, because I am full of cold and losing my voice, and the more I talk the more I cough. But let me know if you read any of these, what are your thoughts on them, and I look forward to speaking to you soon and letting you know my thoughts on them as I read them. Bye for now, BookTube.